on the anime discussion. I think that would have given the guy some insight.
No, it's just gonna be me ranting like Aaron Clary, except for on some like weeb shit. That's the problem. We are live, just so you know. Yeah, I was on Twitter. I had like, dude, this cut is killing me. Which, first off, I'm not cutting. I'm actually gaining muscle, which is nice. But I had like one beer, and I'm like, I'm drunk. I'm gonna start tweeting, and I'm like, holy shit, one beer? And I went on this big rant about how anime sucks now, and I
Fair
don't
enough.
give a shit about Naruto or Pokemon.
Well, it was better. Like I had a huge thread done yesterday because I know you saw the tweet I put out with like don't be that guy bracelets,
I haven't
and
actually.
and
I
Rolo
want to
had
now.
to and Rolo had to introduce like well we already have like the what would Rolo do bracelets. And I cracked a joke that, yeah, but I think they're complementary because, like, the What Would Rolo Do bracelet could make you want to join a hair band in 2021. But the Don't Be That Guy bracelet will save you.
I like it too because it's not as lame as that "not gonna make it" meme, aka
What
the
meme is
AJ
that?
Cortez speech. Oh, it's like where if you do whatever, you're not gonna make it. NGMI.
Ah,
And
fair
it's
enough.
always dumb because it's just whatever a guy was gonna shout into the void. He just says, if you're not doing exactly what I just say to do, you're not gonna make it. Like, well, fuck you.
Oh, are we there now, Andrew? That is like, okay, I'm not really sure if this is the real Carl. It's like, I'm Tiger Mask here. He's gonna have like five different Carls.
Yeah, guys, Carl's not a person. He's like 007. It's an identity you give to a person who's anonymous online with a voice modulator. Everybody knows that.
It would be so fun if they had that on like Urban Dictionary. A Carl, it's a random person who podcasts with a voice mod.
Yeah, a random person who doesn't want to get doxxed online, so he takes some precautions. That's Carling somebody. Oh wait, NGMI is crypto talk, but not just crypto. So now Carl is now a black woman. No, no, no. That's racist, yo. Carl's not a person, he's an idea. There we go. We're gonna turn you into a fucking like a legend. The legend of Carl. I'll privatize all these videos with you in it and people have to hunt on it. There'll be YouTube channels like the search for Carl. That would be actually some cool shit. Imagine that. Actually, I
Well,
don't have to. You kind of did that, didn't you?
I've kind of seen the same thing going on with Pook because he's kind of one of the unique people in the Manosphere who comes in, learns what he needs to, contributes a bit, and then gets the fuck out of it.
Yeah. I don't even think
And
Rolo knew who he was. I remember somebody mentioned something about him being a lawyer, but that's about as much as I know.
yeah, but I think most people like you can tell like what rough branch someone's in if they're like a lawyer, if they're like a tech person, if they're an engineer. You can tell by the way they write
Yeah.
to some extent.
Except for him. Like I said, I heard it from a rumor of a rumor. I just couldn't see it in his writing.
I think he stylized his writing a lot.
Well, that's the kind of the point. That's why I'm liking it. Like I'm doing it now on the sidebar on Sundays. I like it because everything is that Chitlin manual that Rolo keeps calling it. Well, I guess I called it, but yeah, it's always okay. Touch her arm, look left, count to three, turn right, and everybody loves that like paint by numbers how to talk to girls and not be an idiot. But his was kind of like, here, I'm gonna teach you some more creative stuff here. Something about storytelling or understanding narratives and shit like that. And I'm like, there's not enough of that. And he kind of inspired me for fuck files. Like I really did. Like when I wrote that, it's basically like a self-help manual, but I'm like, no, I'd rather write stories.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I always saw it as there's not a lot to write about more in the Manosphere, but putting your own spin on it might make it more applicable for some groups of men. So it's good to have the diversity of knowledge out there.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that either. It's fun. Like I can honestly see somebody who doesn't like Red Pill or the Sphere or Pickup or anything like that reading Pook and kind of enjoying it. And I think I'm sick and tired of watching. And I know it's been like 3 days since I've dunked on Fresh and Fit, so I'm going to do it now. They're like, here, we're red pilled. We're going to tell you exactly how it is. And then what do when they're surrounded by a bunch of girls? They don't act charming or attractive. They just chastise them like they're their older brother. Bitch, keep that dime between your knees. It's like, how is that red pill? at all.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that thing I put out yesterday with like, how would you blow this set? Which for me was like, I was drinking, it was Friday, and I just wanted to see if people could actually have some fun with this shit.
Yeah.
And even then, when it's like, obviously, hey, this is a random stock photo off the internet, the watermark is still left in it. And it's like the most low effort thing ever. And there are guys in there, yeah, like, I don't see any set there. The girls are over 19 BMI. I don't see girls over 19 BMI. Like, how full of yourself are you?
Oh, dude. It seems so obvious. It's like, how do you say you're scared of women without saying you're scared of women? Oh, their BMI's too high. I would never hit on that stock photo girl. It's like, what do you think? And I know it's not because he thinks like, dude, I sleep with women as soon as I open my mouth, so I have to be careful who I talk. Like, no. And that's why I liked yours better than How Would You Open? Because How Would You Open just turns into a bunch of guys trying to impress other guys by who can be the most clever fucking Redditor in that thread, you know? At least yours, the guy has to know what he's doing. Like, how do you do the opposite of what you're supposed to do? Well, you have to know what you're supposed to do first.
Well, I think the easiest way would be like just channel the most douchey dude you can remember from the Manosphere.
I don't think so, though. Well, the most artistic dude. Soft artistic.
Well, I'm like just wondering, like, if I walked up to open one of those sets with like, hey, I just saw you from across the room and I really want to take you out dancing.
Oh, the George Bruno. Dude, that'll work. Because when I used to do, like, I did that, not as much as you did, but remember how we used to tell stories about, you know, whoever gets shot out the best gets drinks paid for?
Yep.
And I always had like a few rules. If I could find a birthday party or a bachelor party, hands down, the girl there that's having her birthday would love to like flex on her friends by showing her like shoot you down 10 out of 10 savage. That, and then act supplicative, and then act super excited and happy as if they're best friends, which is like so obviously fake. Those are like my go-tos to get shot down, and they always worked. But, and that's why I like my photo I put after there, where I tried to find one of girls that were like 28 to 30, and I wanted like a mother hen in there. The one you said had great delts. I'm like, we need a mother hen. This doesn't work without a mother hen.
Yeah, but like, but Dante has to, because like pointing out the mother hen can work, but it can also backfire something fucking savagely.
Yeah,
because if you do it right, all the other girls will agree with you that she's the mother hen.
yeah,
And she'll have to spend the rest of the evening proving she's not the mother hen. It's the same thing as if you call out like one of the girls for being a cock block. However,
do you guys not know what
that,
mother hen is? In the chat, by the way? If you don't know the terms we're using, just let us know. I'll type it in there while we're talking. I cut you off, Carl.
Yeah, it was where was it going with this? Oh yeah, but if you do it wrong, all the other girls will disagree with you, and you'll turn the entire set against you.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, how do you blow this set? You kind of have to know this stuff going in. It's like a very...
It's kind of like the...
Or what were you thinking it's like?
Well, I was, the Sex and the City opener I tried yesterday, or that I kind of pitched.
Yeah.
I think that one can work too, both with correctly identifying them and misidentifying them.
Oh.
Let's say you misidentify like the proper girl as a slutty one.
Mm-hmm.
And the slutty one as kind of the goody two-shoes. They're both going to try and disprove your hypothesis there.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. The best way to get and it's Twitter even. Best way to engage people is to say the stupidest thing because everybody loves to correct idiots. That's why my account doesn't grow, because I have to say stupid shit for people to dunk on me. I need a Matt Walsh level of insight. Oh, when you try to AMOG. Oh, the one thing, too. That was the guy I wanted to talk about. The guy who's like, who wants penis cake? And I'm like, that would work, man. That would actually work well.
That would totally work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a bunch of girls out drinking, any penis effects will go over well. Like throw them penis lollipops, penis cakes, anything. Like they have penis pasta for fuck's sake.
Yeah, because when you bring it up so earnestly like that, it's got that plausible deniability. It's like it's not real sluttiness. We're just joking around. It's perfect. It's almost like
I'm not sure.
Am I dating myself with this reference? Do you remember the candy necklaces that everybody used to wear? A lot of it came from raves, but then everybody started wearing it to the bar.
Yeah, I remember them.
Okay. I don't know if I just dated myself. It's like, what a 70s reference is that? Yeah, that was I put it in that park. Which, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen that, it actually works well. Girls used to do it, and I thought it was kind of interesting, but then guys do it. Just watch. Because girls love two things, being sexy and sugar. And it's the greatest way to get them to take a bite.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the same thing with. I used to do it with hats for a while
Oh.
because girls love stealing your hat.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a great way of like, if a girl steals your hat, take it back, and then when she acts sulky, just okay, you can borrow it, but I'm going to come and get it back from you later. Then you have a natural to open her back up later. And worst case scenario, you lose a fucking hat, but you don't buy expensive ones. The same as sunglasses. Like, don't buy expensive sunglasses if you're going to a party.
How many sunglasses have I lost at parties? I don't even think I can keep track anymore. Well, I don't even think it's because people are stealing them, though. I think it's just because I'm forgetful as fuck. And in the pitch black at a house party, it's hard to find a dark pair of aviators on the lawn.
Well, like I swapped I stopped using expensive lighters when I'm going to parties just because I kept forgetting them or having them stolen.
Do you bring the pink Bic? Or do you know
Whatever
this,
Bic
like,
is available, like the cheapest Bic I can find.
For me, it's this redneck thing from my town. It's like everybody would always get a pink lighter. And then the idea was guys were tired of lending people lighters and having the guy keep it. So if you get a pink one, then nobody will keep it because that means they're gay. It's redneck logic. I don't know if it makes sense or not. It's just, they brainwashed me early and that's what I got now.
Yeah, like I remember at one point, like I had a friend of mine. He came around to all his friends that were smokers with like this huge shoebox full of lighters, and he's like, "I'm not sure if any of these are yours, but just take a couple."
That's awesome. Oh, yeah, the guy that holds
the same
the house.
thing though. Like when I quit smoking, I didn't really quit smoking for like 2 years because I always had a pack at the office.
Right.
And I'd always screw up and bring the lighter home with me. So almost every day I had to buy a new fucking lighter.
But that was like the thing. That's why you wanted to have the house parties. I used to have house parties. My place was like the swank singles place that everybody would hang out. But you would always get a collection of lighters and then liquor. Because there'd always be, like, nobody ever finished they'd buy a two sixer of rum or whatever. You'd have a big collection of that. And there's always that half a bottle of red wine that nobody finished. After a while, it was like, that's how I stocked my minibar. I just had parties, and everybody's like, "Oh, you're handing out beer, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, get drunk off of this so you can leave your whiskey here." Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember that was a big thing with how we drank before when I was still underage. Would be like you'd have a house party and you'd just collect all the liquor people left, and that would keep you for like 2 or 3 parties.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful times. Dude, I kind of... Do I miss this stuff, or do I just like remembering it fondly? I always wonder that myself. Obviously, I'm old enough now that I don't party with teenagers anymore, thank God.
Like, I think it's mostly nostalgia, but I think that about most historical things, that you just kind of, over time, you forget what a pain in the ass it was going to high school. But you remember, like, the epic parties, you remember the first girls you fooled around with, and so on.
But you don't remember all the bullshit? All right, yeah. I remember this specifically because I actually had a journal for when I deployed, that same thing, and we hated the trip. A lot of my bosses, they were on like, this is like their 8th deployment, and they're like, this is the worst one I've ever been on. We went pirate hunting, and I've told the story before. We went pirate hunting in Somalia, trying to find drugs, but it was like the growing season for poppies. It was cyclone season in the Indian Ocean, so like no dhows were out. And we didn't find a single ship until a film crew. CNN came on board, and then all of a sudden, we picked up a potential guy on our radar. Turns out it's just some poor bastard fisherman. We just got to fuck with him for a bit. But I remember this because everybody's like, this trip sucks. I'm like, dude, I'm just holding on to the fact that 6 months from now, I'm not going to remember this bullshit 10,000 message month or this bullshit this or this bullshit that. And I'm just going to remember that time at rock bottom when Dalkey came in with that fucking Filipino hooker. That's all I'm going to remember. And sure enough, that's all I remember now. I'm like, thank God for your stupid ego and your memory.
Yeah, there's like I've had my moments of reflections where you think about things that happen, and you remember the good stories. Mm-hmm. Like I remember my buddy who did the helicopter to some cops from a roof.
Boy. They drunk tank him?
No, he ran
Wow.
away.
Oh,
I remember being handcuffed by a female cop for kissing her. It's a great story.
ooh. There's an icebreaker.
Only
I like
reason,
that.
well, only reason I didn't end up in jail was that her partner thought it was funny as fuck. So when she looked away, he uncuffed me. He's like, "Run it fastest, get the fuck out of here."
I don't know how to package that up and give that to somebody either. Like, I would put a Gumroad course out with shit like that. Like, do shit that's dumb, but not gonna get you killed dumb. Because right there, I could see between you and your friend dates from now to the end of time. What's the worst date you've ever been on? And then right there, well, there was this time that this cop arrested me for kissing her, but then she let me go because I was just hot. I wish, like the sphere will never get there. It's always buy your Lamborghini and get that notch count, do the Tinder dates. Nobody's like, here, live a life that's so interesting that your openers are all shit that really happened. You know?
Well, plus I think if you've done some of that shit, like I don't think the guys who stormed the beaches at Normandy were scared of storming a sorority party.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like-
no fear.
Like the sorority party doesn't have mines and machine gun nests and a bunch of Germans and live ammo.
Heck, they gave so few fucks. Like the NASA astronauts, those were all World War II vets, weren't they? Or were they Korea vets? Either way, they were vets of like a big
Yeah,
war.
that's
Yeah.
big wars.
Here's a seatbelt. Get on this missile, and we'll see you in space. Sounds good. See you when I get back.
Yeah, I think I've told this story before, but one of the best ones I've heard was like there was an astronaut. He was going to get shot up for the first time, and they asked him like, "What are you thinking about right now before we do the countdown?" He's like, "I'm sitting on top of 20,000 pounds of rocket fuel in something built by the lowest bidder."
So laissez-faire, cavalier about it. Yeah, it's, if I die, I won't know. The fire burns quick.
Yeah, but I can kind of see it because, like, I've read a lot of biographies from guys who were in war and pilots and so on. And if you've been low flying over Berlin during a blackout bombing raid while the Germans are shooting at you, I don't think you're scared of that. I think you need to go pretty far to top that in terms of fear.
Oh, easily. Oh, I'll even do you one better. Terrence Popp, even in his book, I don't know if you've read it or not, he devotes more time in his book to his ex-wife killing his dog during the divorce than he does to like his time in Panama when he was down there doing some special forces shit. So like that just shows you like it turns your life just down a notch to the point where that's his important story. My bitch ex-wife got to my best friend. That, by the way, that pissed me off too. Out of all the things that turn a guy MGTOW, that's why Terrence always gets a pass from me. You don't fuck with a man's dog, man. I'm surprised she didn't end up getting lost at that point. God damn it. Now
Yeah,
I'm pissed
same.
off.
I can kind of see that though. Like, if you have those highs and those lows, then the other things, they won't affect you as much. Like, if you just seen your best friend die of cancer, it's not going to bother you that much that your favorite Manosphere conference went under.
Oh, that one hurts. That one hits so close to home. Oh my God. I could have been in Florida as a success, but now we're here in the internet. Oh, fuck that guy. Oh, I like Dante's
Yeah,
take here.
almo-
Terrence Popp is the John Wick of the Manosphere. Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
like I almost cracked the joke yesterday. Like the one I edited out was when I had that "What would Rolo do" interaction. I'm like, yeah, but that might lead you to giving Anthony Johnson all your personal info.
It's good. It's been long enough now that it's almost like a nostalgic thing to dunk on those guys. So we're past the point where it looks like it's bitter and moved on. It's like I'm just bored. I
Yeah.
need content.
Like
Nobody
our
else has been
dunking on
stupid.
them is like it's like the Fonz's leather jacket, man.
Oh yeah, he's gonna jump a shark. That's awesome. Besides, you can't even make fun of it anymore. Like the Hype Fairy and other content schedulers, they're actually giving people templates for tweets. Now it's the Manosphere is now like this commoditized Southeast Indian or Asian content farm. Masculinity of righteousness, or leaders of men. That used to be ironic, and now everybody's just like in earnest. 7 ways to masculine your man. Eat Wheaties. It's all like variations of the 12 rules for life. Pet a kitten. That'll make you into a real man. Sign up for this Gumroad course. How to level up your masculinity. I'm like, what the fuck does this even mean?
In the end, though, Illimitable Man was right about the commoditization.
Which part?
About the fact that it completely face-fucked the entire space.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I disagree. Like, I agree it contributed. I think the bigger problem was letting incels, black pill kids, soccer moms, and STEM nerds, I think letting them have a say did more damage. But I might be just looking at it from the inside, but all I see are people arguing the stupidest things, like something that you could easily experience yourself. Hey, if you act like a bit of an asshole, you'll do better with women because they find it more exciting. And you'll have somebody like asking for a source on that. And you'll have girls saying, well, I would never do that. And then shaming everybody. And then the whole thing just devolves into uselessness. Like the red pill hasn't had anything new and exciting and like something I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought about. Like that hasn't happened in years now. But there's been a shit ton of like, why this shit is garbage. And you're just like, oh, my fuck.
But then again, though, like I think I understand where Illimitable Man was coming from, and I can see some of it happening. But what he didn't predict was like the Nazification of the Red Pill subreddit, because that was supposed to be like the communist utopia. It was not going to be any money there. Going to be completely free speech, as much as the Chinese government who own Reddit will allow. Yeah, and then it
the only rule was be on topic. That was it. Fuck that one rule.
The topic is Peppy memes. It's like that one rule was not enforced at all.
Yeah. But and you know the law, right? If any rule that's not enforced isn't really a rule anyway. So all it did is it just turned into a shittier version of 4chan, because 4chan at least had motivated people. Yeah, it's just weird. One guy can ruin an entire group. I guess 2, because the guy who didn't fucking bitch slap him out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably talk a little bit about the Manading life without one.
All right, get it started. I'm doing the timestamps. Guys are really a big fan of this one. 222.
Yeah, because you came up with the topic this week because I didn't really have anything to think of.
Yeah, well, the reason it started was I had a bunch of cases in between my Patreon and every now and then when I still look in the Married Red Pill subreddit and just general guys talking on their blogs and whatever. That one thing is coming up again where, wife does something shitty, guy gets pissed off, changes his life about it, gets good, reverts back to what made him unattractive in the first place, and then the cycle repeats. And I was just like, it is amazing how anger and a crisis can help a guy focus on what he needs to do. But then as soon as it's gone, he will absolutely sabotage any effort he ever put in and any stuff he's contributed to it. And I always just found that entire thing fascinating. It's one of those, like, guys aren't meant to succeed things. Because until you throw this guy into a war, like the end of the Hurt Locker, you guys just washing dishes. He's like, I'd rather be disposing bombs in Afghanistan. It's basically that. Except for with, fucking your wife. Oh, thank you, Dexter. $5 super chat. First time catching live. Here's my thanks. Hey, don't worry about it, man. Hopefully we don't get copyright striked for using that trans logo, but whatever.
Damn, I was gonna go download Tekken because you mentioned it when we were talking before the show, and turns out I haven't hooked my PlayStation up yet.
Oh, yeah. I will just say don't. It's addictive in the way that I think you would find addictive.
I know it is, but it was the reason why I was going to do it was I finished Mortal Kombat a while ago, and I was at a social event where Tekken may have come up, and I may have kicked some people's ass, and now they want rematches, so now I'm going to have to actually learn how to play that game.
Oh, I love it. It's complex for the sake of being complex. It's such a Japanese thing. Here, let's make this hard and fast rule with 30 exceptions among 50 characters that all do slightly different things, and you have to memorize all of it, otherwise, because you can't react. It's just too fast unless you have Ritalin in your system. They're like, yeah, where can I work? Sign me up. But it's okay because it looks like an anime girl. Oh, okay, good. Carl the Tekken Overlord. Who did you play, by the way?
It depended on which one. Like I had Law main for like Tekken 1, I think. And then I was a Baek main in Tekken 2 and a Hwoarang main in Tekken 3.
Oh, so yeah, you're an asshole then.
Yeah.
Fuck, I hate it. It took me forever to learn how to fight that. He's all rush down. That's what I hate, just constant spamming of moves. But then again, I always played Lei. I always liked it because I was a huge Jackie Chan fan. And his move list is like 1,000 moves long, so it's like rote memorization just for the sake of it.
Yeah, like the reason why I like characters that can like knock you into the air on the first move and then keep you in the air for the full HP bar.
See, I like one where I could breakdance around to show off how awesome I am. Look at this, though. Fitzmago with 10 Hercs wants Carl back on Rule 0. So, yeah, what do you think, Carl? Do you want to come? They're going to talk about not jerking off. You in?
Oh, Christ. They're really going to do a show about not jerking off?
I think so.
Like, really?
I got to pull it up. It's on Troy's channel. But now I'm with you. I'm just kind of like
in fear of like stepping over some kind of, when did all this bullshit that we used to laugh about become more content?
You know what I think it is? I think, and this is back to that limitable man thing. It's like the same crisis management I was talking about sleeping with your girl. It's that the red pill is not a wide body of knowledge. It runs deep, but it's not wide. And so you can either spend an inordinate amount of time going OCD like you did with Gendernomics 1 and 2, and learn like the nuances and the depth of a certain topic and get right into it. Or you can kind of get some surface level knowledge of maybe the 20 things that the red pill has, and then you're like, all right, now I need to do something with my day. And it turns out the best content farm out there right now is incel losers who come up with dumb shit.
Oh,
I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. Like, what is it? What was the quote? I'm sick and tired of guys who aren't fucking driving the conversation on fucking. You know?
Yeah, that's the point. And I think the whole don't jerk off thing, I think that started off as kind of a niche thing because, okay, there are guys who should probably stop eating meat. There are guys who should stop drinking. There are guys who should stop doing other shit. And, you know, if you have a porn addiction, all you do is sit around at home on your couch jerking off all day watching porn, yeah, obviously jerking off is a bit of a barrier to actually getting laid. But if you're jerking off, quote-unquote, normally, it shouldn't be a bit of an issue. It will even be beneficial because you'll last longer and you won't be that horny, creepy guy when you go out.
Your prostate won't get cancer in 10 years. There's all kinds of things. The part that gets me the most, though, is has nothing to do with the science or the medicine or whatever. It's that when did it become socially acceptable to talk about how often you were fucking stroking your dick? You know?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the same thing with, like, yeah, you're right. It's like, when did that become socially acceptable?
And Rollo, even if you guys actually, like you guys do, you chat, wherever chat is, but those you guys don't understand this. Because Rollo said himself, and it was a great quote, where when a girl's jerking off or jilling off, it's seen as like sexual availability. When a guy's jerking off, it's seen as like sexual scarcity. He has no other options. So right there, that tells you, talking about jerking off is the least attractive thing you can do. And so for all these guys talking about leveling up and being their best self, the first thing they need to do is remove the word fat from their fucking lexicon. But instead, they're just doubling down and being unattractive. It's like Pat Stedman. His stupid shit that he's running his mouth about right there. It's just as unattractive.
But that's a weird thing because, like, I saw that towards the end of my Tinder career too, where it became completely appropriate to write what you're into in your fucking bio.
Like kink-wise?
Yeah, it's like Cheryl 18 anal.
Oh, man, do you remember back in the day where you used to have, well, not you, but like gay guys would have to wear a handkerchief on their back pocket so guys knew what they were into and they were subtle about it. And if you weren't part of the group, you didn't know. I know, just a little bit of subtlety. It's all I'm asking for here. Chesty's in here with the subtle, savage, sad Petman dinks, man. Dude, I'm so glad I kept that. Chesty actually saved me that video of the Pat Stedman's Why I Love Women because he's deleted it. I make an effort every chance I can to throw that at the end. If I have like some women being bad TikTok thing, to put Stedman on the one side and then like TikTok Cindy on the other with like, I love how women smell. And then she's like, I'm nasty ass, blah, blah, pussy. And I was like, yeah. I love how supportive girls are. Fuck that asshole. And I'm just like, yeah. I think it tells a much stronger lesson when you could see like actual stupid pablum advice juxtaposed with the target audience that it's supposed to help and show how it's completely irrelevant. Oh, he's my black pill noFap.
Yeah, but I think that's like the big difference now because the transparency. Because like I said, it wasn't common to talk about how often you jerk off before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't common to talk about what kinks you were into. And not talking about certain things was kind of the way to go. And you kind of isolated the craziness in little pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the same amount of crazy, but they couldn't find each other.
Yeah.
And I kind of
it was
liked
always
it
like
when,
highly invested people. If you were into like spanking, then there was a small spanking community. It wasn't like everybody found out about spanking.
No, or if you were like into swinging, you'd know like that one club that no one else knew about.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Like Troy had like a whole series on like exploring the seedy secret sex clubs of Berlin or something.
Dude, between that and his infields, that's my favorite Troy content. Like obviously I don't need the infield stuff anymore, but I still enjoy it. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like he's showing real infields where it's kind of sometimes a little awkward, sometimes it's smooth. The little dynamics there, much better than that RSD hired hooker shit, right?
Yeah, but I think it's with a real infield and any kind of real pickup content, it's going to be messy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, John could have done his body language mastery with, like, real girls in real infields, but it's easier to hire a model to do it because then you don't have to shoot 80 infields to get the exact body language you're looking for.
Yeah, you get the stylistically, you can get everything to look right. Like, I get all that. I do agree, though, that it does lose a part of it. Like, you know how part of, like, the same with your how do you blow out a set thing? Part of the benefit is learning how to stay cool when things don't go perfectly, how to adapt and how to think on your feet. I think that's an underrated skill because you can't really teach it. You just give guys fundamentals and then trust that all right, I can handle this, or I don't care if this goes bad. I'll just try something, see what happens.
Yeah, but
instead of treating every crisis like a crisis.
Yeah, but I think presenting in front of an audience in a work capacity can help train you for it too, because usually when you do a presentation in front of an audience, you have some expectations to how they're going to react. Like, okay, I'm going to lead with a joke on slide 2. I expect them to laugh from like 10 to 30 seconds. Then I can continue on. That type of thing. And then when the laugh doesn't come and you're standing there for 30 seconds and you're fucking up the timing of your slides, then you have to just stand there and own it, and you either have to come up with something. It's the same thing in a pickup scenario, because you do have awkward silences. You do have those moments where you have to take a step or two back in the interaction and so on. But you don't see those a lot in fake infields. It's like the Indian guy Krauser went in on. It was like he was in Poland for like 9 days and banged 7 virgins.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. There's virgins all over the place. I just need a one-night stand. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like maybe it's some kind of virgin convention. Yeah, they always out themselves. That's the problem I have with brags, is that, like the stolen valor thing's my example. Nobody ever brags about being a leading seaman supply tech. They're always a paratrooper, lieutenant commander. It's like, yeah, just tone your lie down to be more believable, man. Trust me. Yeah, but they can't because you're trying to make yourself sound better. So why wouldn't you go for broke?
Well, it's kind of like same thing with investing. Like some guys love those fancy new tech companies with little to show, with like they spent like half their money on branding and they always have a name with an X or a Z, and it's never like a real word. It's always like some strange thing they mix mash together, and everyone wants to invest there. No one's investing in fucking waste management or in funeral homes, but those are profitable as fuck, man.
Oh yeah, funeral homes. I can see those going up in value because the boomers are about to die off, and COVID's about to have its, I don't know, seventh wave. What are we on now? The 15th wave of COVID. This one's deadlier, causes sterility, and kills babies. I don't even remember anymore. I can't keep it
Yeah,
straight.
I think the COVID response though is a kind of a good analogy for this show. Because we've gone from, okay, we're in crisis management mode. We don't know what this is. We don't know how lethal it is. We have no countermeasures. We have no treatments. We have to kind of act and then figure out as we go along to
Right.
a state of essentially constant crisis management. And I'm not sure how it's been in Canada, but they've been using moving goalposts quite extensively all over Europe.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're about
Because
the
like Because, like, first it was, okay, we have to protect the people over 50 so they don't die. And people were like, okay, we can take a hit to our social life for like 3, 4, 5 months
yeah,
so we
everybody's
don't
got
kill
an uncle
mom
or
and
an
dad
aunt
and
you want to keep
grandma.
alive.
So that's fair. But then suddenly all of those are vaccinated and there's pretty much no chance of them dying. So then it's like, well, you know, everyone isn't vaccinated and younger people occasionally have severe illness, so we're just going to keep up everything. And then it was like, okay, now everyone's vaccinated, but we're seeing a lot of contagion going on, and that might lead to more mutations, and so we're just going to keep you locked up just as a precaution. And I'm just wondering what the next one's going to be.
I don't know.
Because there's always a new variant or a new thing about the vaccines not being as effective, or anti-vaxxers fucking it up for everyone else, or people not doing what the government tells them.
And it's such a red pilled moment, and I know that's like cliche, but War on Terror, so many parallels. Like we went from the World Trade Center going down to mission accomplished, and now it's, do you remember there was an old infographic where it was like Osama bin Laden at the top of like a flowchart, and then underneath it was like the number 2 guy from Al Qaeda. And every time America was like, yeah, we found the number 2 guy in Al Qaeda and murdered him. But then it was like 500 guys in number 2 of the organization, like the flattest hierarchy ever. And that's all I could think of with this is like, yeah, the defeat COVID is the main thing. And then every little thing underneath is like the biggest, second biggest crisis. I'm just
Well, I
surprised
just
nobody
think
learns
it's-
from it.
I just think it kind of comes down to people like fighting abstract concepts. They're very good for politicians.
Well, you can't
Because,
lose
like-
against abstract.
Well, you can never really define like what's the win state with the war on terror. Like every terrorist dead, even like the lone guy who's in a cabin in the woods plotting the death and destruction of something random because something that happened to him back in '78.
Oh, hell no, because
Like,
then
you're
just the
gonna get rid
Overton
of that
window
guy?
shifts of what a terrorist is. Now it's the guy who drops an N-bomb on Xbox Live's the next terrorist if they kill all the real ones.
And it's the same thing like with the COVID thing. It's like it's always a new variant. There's always something new we have to be concerned about. Like this version of COVID takes your balls, that type of shit.
I think that's going to be my new metric on when something is like panic as opposed to like real. Because the first thought, and that's, you know, that the virus, coronavirus, even though it's a respiratory virus, was going to make men sterile and women infertile. And then they realized, no, that's bullshit. And then the vaccine was going to make men sterile and women infertile. And then that's bullshit. And then terrorists were going to come for your family, but that was also bullshit. I think it's like this hallmark of panic is when they instantly think they're going to do something to your balls. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some, Rolo's probably got an article on it. I don't fucking know. I just know it's a thing.
But it's kind of like if you've seen Alien, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like H.R. Geiger specifically made like the face huggers seem like they're essentially raping your face.
Oh, and he kind of shaped them like vaginas too, right?
Yeah, like a penis going down your throat. And the reason why he did that was because he was saying like what would be like the most uncomfortable shit ever, and he came up with that. Like what would creep guys out?
Turn you into a uterus. Dear God, no! I wanted to go in, not be the one. All right, whatever.
But then again, though, I've always loved crisis management because most bureaucracy gets pushed to the side and you just get to do shit.
Exactly. The whole thing is weird. I'm slowly becoming part of that. What do they call it? Biological determinism, where like people have their genetic. I don't like how I'm gonna go on that route, but it just seems that guys are meant to fail. Most guys, and they're happy to fail, and they will fight you not to fail. And you can hand them anything and everything they could possibly use, and they'll still fuck it up against all better sense. I don't know if this is me burning out or what, but at some point you realize, like, yeah, most people just aren't meant to be happy. They're meant to be fodder. They're meant to be sent into the front line of a war and like, hey, go run into that trench. You got it. Let's do it for glory. All right, let's try that again. That didn't work the first 50 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they're the horses in blazing saddles. No, not even the horses.
Yeah. Which is good though, because like you and I have been saying since the start, we're not trying to like appeal to everybody in the sphere. We're trying to appeal to guys that aren't artistic. That's I'm gonna keep using that euphemism just so you guys know. Soft art, artistic, because apparently it's a slur if you call somebody autistic.
Yeah, but isn't that have to point to that it is a slur?
You know what? Nobody's gonna watch this. It'll be fine. Euphemisms, man. You got to beat the YouTube language filter and all the feminist language filter and just use euphemisms. Tell better stories.
Oh, fair enough. YouTube are being bundles of sticks again, I understand.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Guys just want to fail. Guys need to fail, and that's why I can't stand how we have to give so much attention to black pill guys having a huge crisis situation because Tinder is ruining their chance at a trad wife, or how all of a sudden everybody needs to spend $300 to learn to keep your hand off your dick, or ableism. Yeah. All this shit. And it just, I know it makes good content because it's exciting, right? Like, who doesn't want to watch a fucking freak show on the side of the road for 25 cents? Actually, that's what this is. Between TikTok and the manosphere, it's the fucking carnival freak shows. The bearded lady, literally. Call me ma'am.
I do think it's interesting, though, because, like, I think most guys like the crisis because that gives them an impetus to do something without thinking. I think a lot of the guys who end up not doing anything are prone to overthinking, and if your house is on fire, you kind of don't have to think. You have to grab a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. I guess there's no blame in it either. It's like, hey, house was on fire. I did what I could. I'm almost wondering if it's like a permission. People just need a plausible way to, like, absolve themselves of the consequences of their actions.
Well, it's the same thing as, when guys get really pissed off because then they have the excuse, yeah, I'm sorry I did all that shit. I was pissed off, and everyone kind of has to give them a mea culpa on it.
I know, and it's everything. Like, and I know there's a biological reason for it, like neuroplasticity. Like, I get it. It's just interesting to watch human hardware and human software kind of manifest in this weird way where it turns into, like, if you're not a cuck, are you really a man? Fuck, whatever.
Yeah, but I think also that's kind of like that whole thing by creating crisis is just a way of selling more product or getting something done the way you want it.
Yeah. Well, and who's the best at it, though? The biggest shit shows are the guys who are great at it.
But because it's like, if you reason easily, then we should just not have elected officials. We should just let whoever is the best, most competent solve situations, right?
Yeah, it's just kicking the can down the road then. So who decides who's most competent? At some point, you have to get to a decision.
That's going to be an issue. But, like, if we have to decide, like, how's the energy mix going to be in, like, 2020? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it have been better if people who research energy and know the energy grids and know the supply patterns and the growth and so on start planning that out then, instead of now being in 2021 and suddenly we have to cut, like, all fossil fuels in, like, 10 years because they've been kicking the can down the road for 30 years already?
I used to agree with you on this, and the only reason I don't now is because we've put infectious disease experts in charge of COVID response. And obviously that's turned into hypochondria. So I kind of don't want to go that route. You kind of need at least some input from a dispassionate person or people who are stakeholders in other areas. I don't know how this translates into, like, a married red pill lens here, but
Well, the thing I would argue there is that the main issue with the way they did it in Canada is that they didn't define their group big enough. So they only did infectious disease people. They should have done economists, lawyers, and have like a mixed group of competent people in all the affected fields.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. A situational awareness kind of thing. So they could weigh pros and cons as opposed to now where it's like, yay, we beat Corona. Well, you didn't. And now the supply chain's fucked and the food's spoiling in the port. Well done.
Because,
Wow, nobody could have
like,
seen that coming. I'm like, everybody did. You just didn't ask them.
because that was my argument. Like, if you ask like medical health professionals, like, okay, we want the populations to be as healthy as possible. Do whatever you need to. And it's like, oh, sugar just got banned. High fructose corn syrup just got banned. Okay, McDonald's is now closed. Any kind of fast food is closed. Factory farming is closed. You essentially need to shut down our entire food supply.
Yeah, turn into Luddites. And then what's the problem?
Right.
Well, now we need penicillin again. Oops. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, you'll have to go and get those rationing cards that they had right after the war. Like, yeah, I'd like my monthly dose of Cheetos, please. You have to pick them up like they're fucking Vicodin.
That's what gets me. Like both with the medical thing and with like the sphere and the red pill stuff. It's you got people making decisions that's not in their scope. Like case in point, my condo board, they're saying they're gonna have like we're doing these gym restrictions because we can't guarantee your safety. I'm like, it's not your fucking job. You're not a doctor. Your job is to follow provincial regulation and not get our building sued, which is going to cost us tons in our fees. So I'm going to war with them right now. And then the sphere, same thing. I am the president of the like. You're not the president of fucking anything. Be like me. It worked for me is not a sales pitch on helping guys, solve problems. Like I want to get laid. I want to get a job. I hate this random above your scope authority, and everybody seems to love it because everybody wants to be in charge. It's like, get the fuck out of the house. Go touch grass.
It's kind of interesting though, because like my approach when I came back to the Manosphere was I want to learn what people are good at from them.
Yeah.
So like I learned good stuff from AJ Cortez on working out and different things related to diet. I learned a lot of good things from Tanner when it comes to, and Will Built Style when it comes to how to dress better.
For sure.
I learned how to manicure a beard well from George Bruno, but I don't really want to hear his thesis on quantum gravity.
Do you see that building? There's murderers in that building. I'll never not laugh at that fucking line. Rolo's an asshole. Oh, it was like, what's wrong with the red pill? And he's like, Rolo's a dick, and he's a jerk, and he makes everybody mad, and he just kind of loses his train of thought, goes full Joe Biden. It's like, look at that building over there. There's murderers in that building. Just stares right at the camera. I'm like, that's unintentionally the best comedic timing I've ever seen out of the sphere. I'll never get tired of that one. It was the biggest boomer take. But no, I agree. Same thing. Like for Dark Triad, there was nobody writing it except for Illimitable Man until like Bogey D6 eventually added something, and I tried adding my part too. But Vasily, Uncle Vaz, he finally started writing the corporate land stuff. You've done some corporate stuff too, which is nice. So people can see like, hey, I'm starting a new job. I'm negotiating a salary. I got a Christmas party. Do I sleep with the coworker? There's shit out there from that guy who's got that one piece. Then there's the other guy, the 5'4" Indian programmer who's like, here's what I did to stop being the Bob's and Vagine guy and actually get laid. And like everybody had their little pieces, which was nice. And I don't like how it's now everybody is a master of everything. And they refuse to just say, hey, I have one piece of the puzzle here. I am not the authority on anything except for this one piece of the puzzle. I guess we lost a little something. People stopped being collaborative and started turning into chicks where they just want to be the top of the fuck pile,
Well, everyone was trying to carve out a piece of the pie for themselves, and they wanted the biggest possible pie. So suddenly we have, guys talking about workouts who've never talked about workouts before, like Pat Stedman going to lift.
Oh, I should have saved that video. He worked out once, and I didn't even think to save the video. I'm such an idiot.
And that was one of the things when I was actually active on Twitter and people asked questions, I would always try to send them over to the guy who knew that better than I did.
Yeah. Or at the very least, I would do this too, where it's like, yeah, I can give you workout advice, but just be aware It's a lot of bro science. It's lay opinion, and I guarantee you there's some shit in here that you're going to need to correct. But it's good enough if you're starting from zero. Like at least letting a guy know what level of like validity this information is going to be, right?
And like, if someone asks me for workout advice, they're just gonna get download the fucking Strong Lifts app, man.
Oh, I agree. Do the Strong List app. Stay away from getting injured because nothing sucks more than going to Snap City on some shit that takes forever to heal, like a shoulder or a lower back or a knee. That shit lasts forever. So lift less than you think you need. That's about as good as I'm going to get to you.
Yeah, like I agree with the guy in chat. I think Sad Patman is going to be very good at giving relationship advice when he gets out of jail.
It should be good. He comes out with like a swastika tattoo. He's like, I had to stay alive. Did what you got to do, man. I'm going to Poland where I'll fit in. I'm like, hope so. Good fuck for you, man.
I do find that funny though, like neo-Nazism being so big in fucking Poland, the country that was possibly ravaged the most by Nazism.
Yeah, it's that weird, what do they call that? Not Helsinki syndrome. What's the one where
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. Or like ghetto culture. We're going to make that R word. It's like the N-bomb for Poland, calling themselves neo-Nazis. Whatever. Man, I'm sure there's some guy in there who like can't get a job in Poland today, and he's like, man, it was better in the 50s, better in the 40s. And you're like, was it?
That was
Well, it would have been
kind of one of the hilarious things with Russia, that, you know, you had to collapse in 89 after the fall of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And then they rebuilt themselves in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. But there were still a lot of guys who remember the Soviet Union who were like, oh, I miss the Soviet Union. I went to my job, got my paycheck, didn't do anything productive. I went in there and I polished bolts, and then I went home. Then I picked up my ration of bread, and then we had dinner, and then I went to sleep, and then I did work the next day. It was predictable, easy. It's our traditional lifestyle here, and I want to go back to the trad life in the Soviet Union.
See, when it's foreign like that, it sounds so silly. The most I've heard is there's a huge push for like Eastern European brands for like foodstuffs and that, which I guess they tasted like shit, but it's like me when I eat those chocolate cigarettes. I just love it, even though it's the shittiest, cheapest chocolate you could ever eat. But because I could just remember fondly eating it as a kid, I just want more of it. I guess it's like the communist food version of that. There's even cooking channels now. You seen this? Eastern Bloc cooking?
Really?
Yeah.
I saw, like, Irish cooking was a thing, and I was like, what the fuck? Do you just boil things?
Yeah, I was going to say Irish soda bread and baked potato. That's it. We're done. Maybe you're learning how to make an improvised explosive device to stop those goddamn Brits. I don't know. Here's how you hide it in a cake.
But kind of though, like, I think the woke culture is probably one of the most overhyped non-issues ever.
Yeah, I will admit. I think it's like, you know how everybody's saying the about racism, how the supply of racism isn't close to meeting the demand for racism, so everybody has to make shit up. I think woke is the same thing for the flip side. Like, everybody needs to be some kind of soy boy villain because, you know, Sargon of Akkad needs content, but the problem is there's not as many woke people as you think.
Yeah, and even, like, it kind of reminds me of, like, the state of the manosphere when I did that, like, date experiment.
I still love
And, like,
that one. I think
everyone
that's going
was
to be
like,
your magnum opus, by the way.
I think so too, but it was like everyone was like, oh, everyone's going crazy with MeToo. You can't even hit on girls anymore. And go out and only one girl during like all those dates mentioned anything related to woke.
Yeah,
and I kind of knew she was going to do that. And I knew she was going to do that because she looked that way.
Oh. Yeah, it's... most people are just in the middle. Like, they don't care. They'll just kind of go with the flow. If you talk woke in front of them, they'll be like, yeah, and give it lip service. And if you don't, they won't. At least that's the impression I got from, like, real life people I know. They don't care. But they're not going to, like, insult it just for the sake of it and have a temper tantrum.
Well, it's also kind of the same thing with, like, people going on national TV talking about how they're being no-platformed.
Just before their new platform starts up? Yeah. I've noticed that. Like, what was the Disney chick, the Carlito or whatever her name was? Oh, I got canceled by Disney. By the way, see me at here now. I'm like, there's this weird conservative grift where it's like getting the damn liberals to like take food out of your family's mouth just before you start up a new project is like the grift. That's how you make your fortune.
Yeah, but it's manufactured crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody eats it. Hook, line, and sinker. Oh my God, we got to support this guy. Give him all our money. Somebody said something mean to him on the Colbert Report. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, someone wrote him a mean tweet.
Yeah, and then they use the word canceled. It used to be bad. I remember, like, canceling used to be a thing. Like, what was that guy's name?
McCarthyism.
Yeah, the McCarthyism. Oh, good example of that one. Or Tim Hunt, I think, was that him? The scientist who basically lost his tenure and his job and his career, and they were trying to, like, expunge his stuff. Like, that's real consequences. Having Anita Sarkeesian make a 5-video series on why you're an asshole isn't so much that. Or you get your YouTube channel canceled. You can start a new YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Count
my
Dankula, I think, is the last
it.
true canceling.
Yeah, and Dankula, he's in the UK and they have weird ass fucking laws.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think most of the European Union, you'd probably get away with it, but not there.
Yeah, damn Scotland. I miss. Yeah, the birthplace of the Enlightenment, the most locked down place when it comes to ideas. That's irony for you.
It's the same thing with Ireland. I think abortion became legal in like 2014.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like really fucking late.
Well, that sucks. Now the golden age of Ireland is over because they've had such a good run until then. That's an IRA joke, fellas. Laugh it up. Don't worry about it.
And don't blow a gasket.
Dude, imagine if the Irish owned all like the media conglomerates in the world and the Irish potato famine was like the thing you couldn't talk about. Like kind of like the way we have like Auschwitz now. Calling somebody a potato is the equivalent of like a hard R-N bomb. What could have been. What could have been.
I always found that kind of funny though, like what things randomly become offensive because someone thinks they're offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what
imagine going back. Yeah, but like, imagine taking a guy, like an average dude from like 1920, and transplanting him to 2020.
Oh boy, yeah. You know, the worst part is I could see him being more confused that people are upset. What the hell are you talking about? They love fried chicken. Like, that would be like his tame take. Like, what? It's fried chicken. It's delicious. What? You got to cuff your woman a little bit. Don't leave a mark, but like, oh. Because isn't that
kind of hilarious
thing?
though? Like would be hilarious though to kind of take like a black guy from 1920 and drag him to a white guy from 2020 to 2020, and then like a black guy from like 2020 to 1920.
Oh my God! Actually, they had a Captain America sketch on that, which was hilarious, where they unfroze him out of the ice, and then they're like, "Oh, Cap, we need you to save us." And then he starts going full 1940s, like, what do they let the chicks in here for? And then the black guy comes up, and then the girl starts talking. He like cuffs her. He's like, don't ever talk back to a man, you son of a bitch. It was actually the funniest thing ever. And they're like, all right, we got to freeze him again, man. This ain't working. But there's some good sketches. I'm starting to get into the comedy thing now. That's why I think your woke shit is like we had with your MeToo revelation. Like Ryan Long, I'm going to go see him in December. Dude, he's saying like faggot on things. He's calling people retards. He's making fun of gay shit. Doing just fine. And I think the only difference between him and like the conservative grifter is they're not goading people on. Not like, I dare you to fucking cancel me. I bet you can't. And then they get canceled because, you know, insane people are insane. And then, oh my God, the liberals are winning. It's like, are they though? Because this guy is just saying some ignorant shit and nobody seems to care. In fact, they're laughing at it.
Yeah, but I think most people don't give a shit too, because I think like the ultimate way of showing that you're on the same level as someone and that you view them in, let's say, a humane light,
right,
is making a joke at their expense and them being able to do the same to you.
Yeah.
Because,
a lot of guys
the whole
mad that
point
you can't do that anymore, but I'm like, you kind of can.
Well, the whole point of humor is to kind of stretch the limit of what you're allowed to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time you use humor, you risk rejection. Or
and that's the social risk, right? But that's the signal you send that you're not as worried about it because you have a more social connections that you can lose this one. It's not a big deal. And I think that's the appeal to it. expensive signaling.
Yeah, but it's like me knowingly using the word tranny in front of like woke people, but like holy shit! I went to the track this week and I beat the shit out of the tranny, and everyone snaps. No, like I was driving. I haven't driven manual in a while.
Well, is Ladyboy a bad one, or are you allowed to say that one, or is that a different
I
thing?
have no idea, man.
Yeah. I guess that's part of the thing too. I used to do that a lot of times where I'd say something that I know is like gets the gas, but I'm like, is that a good thing or I don't honestly know. And they're like, oh, he's ignorant. He doesn't know. Get a good laugh about that. I think that's the big thing though. If you can laugh, people know not to take you seriously. Like I used to do that all the time whenever I would approach somebody. I was telling that story in Florida how I approached that chick and called her a cunt as like my opener. She was Australian, so I'm like, but the guys didn't know that at the time. But I'm just sitting there with this big shit-eating grin on my face, and she took it well. A lot of times it's just, yeah, people will, whatever emotion you're expressing, they'll express it back. And I think a lot of guys who are so worried about offending people kind of forget that.
Yeah, and I also think when you go into like the deer mode about jokes, you're kind of showing that you don't know what's going on. Let's say you make an ignorant joke and someone calls you on it, don't try and logically defend the joke.
No. Make fun of them for not understanding that they were in on that you're supposed to be in on the joke. It's not even doubling down. I think it's just making fun of the guy for not understanding humor. Which I'm surprised you can't make. Like, how do people not know that if you got the one wet blanket in your party, laughing at them for not having a sense of humor is the best way to build camaraderie in like your social group? Call him a fuddy-duddy. Is that racist now? I don't even know. Does anybody know what that even means anymore?
I said, I think people are just so fatigued by constant crises. I think we've been more or less in a constant crisis since 2001, 9/11. Because like you had this like positive drive that came from like the fall of the Soviet Union and the Berlin Wall. So like the 90s was really like, upbeat and positive, and even the 80s were, but that was mostly cocaine.
Yeah. Well, hey, then, got to build
then
Miami
9/11
somehow.
happened, and then we had like the war on terror for like 5-6 years, and then suddenly like the financial system crashed. Then they were constantly trying to fix that and the Euro crisis and so on for the next 5-6 years, and then we walked straight into COVID. Yeah, and then we had Brexit, we had like the Trump election, and then like you have COVID.
That guy, the Swedish guy that was murdering kids on that island, and
what?
It's not. What the hell was he? He was like something Nordic. He went onto that island of Boy Scouts and had that fucking murder spree. The nationalist.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Breivik or whatever.
Yeah, I know which one.
Just see how strong these crises are. I'm like, what the fuck was that guy's name again? Or what's the latest one? The Kyle kid. Kid decides to go save the West, ends up having to fight like a self-defense charge, and now everybody's watching it like it's professional sports. Dude, that fucking kid, man. Like right now, I know he's like, I did everything right. I did self-defense. Why is my life like hell with Damocles sword for the next year? I know why he's crying on the stand there. And then I'm watching everybody look at it the same way they would watch like the Steelers try to win the Super Bowl. And I'm going, that's fucked up. Some kid's fucking life in his hands, and you guys are like, yeah, get him. Fuck them liberals up. And you're like, Or is it maybe I'm just too sensitive on this shit?
No, but I kind of agree with you in that when politics became like a huge part of our life back in like 2001, because politics wasn't as ubiquitous. Like, you didn't walk around asking people, like, who did you vote for? Like, the Americans always had fucking bumper stickers and shit.
Yeah.
But, like, it wasn't like a national debate, like, are you a part of the Gerald Ford Army? No,
exactly.
I'm part of the Fighting Reagans.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody would say that. It's like telling people how much you jerk off. You just don't say this shit because nothing good comes of it. At best, you're the exact same as you were when you started.
Yeah, and I was raised with, like, there are two topics, like, you don't discuss in polite company, politics and religion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just never discuss them unless you're in a setting where it's appropriate, where like everyone is, politically
At
interested,
church.
or everyone's
If you're at
an
church, you can bring up
atheist.
Jesus.
Yeah, that type of thing. That used to be like the common code. And then suddenly it was completely acceptable to ask people, yeah, so who did you vote for?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as like, who did you vote for and how often do you jerk off, sir?
Yeah. Have you had this medical condition applied to you yet? I hate people talking about the vaccine. It's like whatever happened to is none of your fucking business. Remember that? Like obviously nobody in real life asks me in Canada. People here are polite. Nobody's going to say, hey, are you vaccinated, sir? Did you get vaccinated as like an opener? Because then I would ask, hey, have you had an abortion? Luckily, it's never come up. But you know what I mean? Like I think autism's on the rise. I think people have been so isolated from other people, so balkanized that they don't understand how obtuse they are anymore. And I almost want to say all this fucking random shit that people are angry about isn't even them being angry. It's just like children speaking without a filter. But then us normal people are like, why are they so angry? It's like, he's not angry. He just doesn't know what he's doing. The limbic brain is driving the ship, man.
Yeah, and I also think it's kind of at the point where like our limit for privacy is so eroded.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Jack has a shirtless pic. Is he selling a Gumroad course now?
I think so. 6-pack abs, 5-minute. I don't know. I can't even think of the Gumroad course right now. Here, Jack of masculinity. What's your Gumroad course? That's racist. And here, Jiku, he's saying here, U.S. politics is not world politics. Although looking at our media, it seems like that. Absolutely.
Well, no, I disagree. U.S. politics is world politics.
Well, it's become world politics, but it's not. Like Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't affect Canadians in any way, shape, or form, in any strained logic. But so many of them are just fucking glued on it.
Yeah, there I agree with you. It was the same, but I can kind of excuse people in Europe who were kind of following the American election closely. Mm-hmm. Because from a European standpoint, Trump is sort of train wreckish.
Yeah, well, he was going like more isolationist as opposed to the global homo stuff, right? So obviously for free trade, it's not going to be good to have Trump in there. Like I get that, but that's the thing. I never saw a single news anything that came at it from like a self-interested angle. It's not like, what does Trump mean for Canada? It was always, hey, Trump's an asshole. Trudeau's better than him, and look at his socks. It's like, how the fuck does that fix anything? I mean, I get it. You're just trying to get ad spend, but like, fuck.
Yeah, but I think it makes sense. Like, but I just think it also partly with COVID, people have been so fucking bored that you kind of went from Tiger King to the second best reality show, the American election.
Holy shit, Tiger King. That feels like it was so long ago, but yeah, it was right at the start of the COVID thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like the reason I'm thinking about it is like I kind of went back in my head and thought like, how have I spent the last like 20 fucking months? Like no gyms, and it's been a lot of Simpsons.
Dude, I'm afraid to go back. I'm one of those guys, zombie Simpsons. Like once the Grimes episode, season 10, I think it is. I just can't watch anything past there. I miss the old stuff. I'll still watch the monorail episode. Like that's how awesome I thought the old stuff was.
Oh, I like the Mr. Plow one and the Flaming Moe's.
Fair point. Those are all good ones. Which one of your children do you love the most? How do you even quantify that? Ooh, Treehouse of Horrors. Those are always good too.
Oh yeah, I go through them every year for Halloween if I have the night off, and I'll watch all the Treehouse of Horror episodes.
Yeah, the aliens were always my favorites on those ones. They'll
kind of same thing that
with a bigger hammer and a bigger nail, and it's a nail so big that they'll destroy them all. Cruise control, school, please. I'm surprised actually people weren't more productive on it. Like my girl's office is now starting to have like come back to work policies going. She came home after like her first day, like she flew down to Montreal, see people down there, see people in Toronto, and she's like, everybody is fucking fat. Like 50, 60 pounds fatter. And I couldn't believe it. Do you remember when the dream was like, hey, if you take people don't need to worry about their paycheck, they'll be super creative and create all this stuff. And it's like, no, man, they're just going to drink and get fat if they don't have something they're told to go show up to.
Well, I think the main reason why that happened now was I think if you'd done it differently and not had the lockdown, I think
Yeah.
people would have perhaps gone a different route. But I'm not sure about how it was in Canada, but there wasn't a lot you were allowed to do other than go to the grocery store, the liquor store, and the pharmacy and stay at home.
Oh, well, it depends on the province, but Ontario was almost as bad as Quebec. Quebec actually had curfews. Like you were allowed to walk your dog. People were getting arrested because they tried walking their cats, or one chick put a leash on her husband, and they're like, "Nah, no, you can't do that." Which I thought was kind of funny. I was like, "Oh, if I did some red meat Rolo shit, I'd have done that." But I'm like, fuck, that's low even for me." But yeah, it was grocery stores, weed dispensaries, dog parks were big again. Everybody was loving it at the dog parks. But yeah, we turned into old British people, like where my girl and I would just go to the beach and then walk along the beach together and talk about our day and have a constitutional. I'm like, when did we turn
Fair
into
enough.
80-year-old people from London? God damn it. Ooh.
No, I just landed on the fact that people are going to have to recover post COVID. Like, I noticed that now because we're working on the back to the office shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like going through my normal day, it's 7 to 10,000 steps a day. That just disappeared during COVID.
Oh, I remember you talking about that before. Yeah.
Because like the States is kind of rigged. Even if you're in like a big city, you kind of have to drive.
Mm-hmm.
But here, a lot of the cities are rigged for, walking and collective transportation and bicycling.
Yeah, Toronto's pretty good for that too, at least if you're in the city.
So, like, if you're in, like, a city, you just end up, it's a bigger pain in the ass to find parking than it is to walk.
Takes more time, costs more money. It's almost cheaper to get an Uber or a taxi somewhere than it is to drive too. Yeah, I totally agree.
So, I think that plays into it. And I also think when you're just sitting there staring at a screen wearing sweats all day, you don't get the normal, hey, you're getting fat signs, like when your shirt starts to get tighter on the stomach or when your pants start to fit worse.
Dude, my girl
The
owes
guys
me a
that-
huge solid on that. Like, that was one thing. I said from the military, I remember that. I'm like, I don't care what you're doing today. You get up, you shave, you shower, you shit, you put on clothes. And she's like, I just want to wear stretch pants and a hoodie. I'm like, no, we're getting dressed. She got mad at me. She yelled at me all the time. But then, yeah, a year in, she's like, everybody is fat but me. What the fuck? And I'm like, yeah. Just those little rituals, man. You got to keep that shit going. And I never have anything nice to say about the military, but that's the one nice thing I'll say is they get you into that idea of routine and keeping yourself in, like, fighting shape. Plus, she's so stubborn now that the gym is open again and the condo corp is trying to, like, restrict it. On the principle of it, she's like, I will never miss a single workout. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to document how many people aren't working out, how your policy is bullshit. I'm like, dude, that stubbornness has given her, like, her squat's already gone up like 40 pounds since we started. It's like the anger phase for guys. And it was just for her, it was just some man telling her no.
Fair enough. But I'm actually enjoying that back to the gym now. It's been nice, and I don't think I'll ever try and pull more than 3 plates ever again.
I'm with you. It's just, yeah, I don't want to get injured. I really don't want to get injured. And that 12, 15 months off, like, helped all those little nagging injuries finally go away, and I never want to go back.
Well, for
And
me,
I
it
would
was more
rather-
like,
Oh, and yeah, and you're right. If you're going to do, like, 3 plates and you want to do more, it's like, well, just lift it slower or do more reps. Like, do a single leg with less weight. I'm all up for, like, the alternative stuff now as opposed to just how many plates can I put on this thing to look awesome.
well, for me, it was more like when I had to restart with like Strong Lifts 5v5 with just the bar. I kind of realized that as long as you're working and you're getting progress, there is no point in taking unnecessary risk. And you can always throw in extra work instead of going heavier.
Yeah.
Or at least if you're going to go heavy, go 1 rep instead of 5 reps.
Yeah. Add an extra set. Do it a little bit slower. Hold for an extra second in the pocket. There's so many things you can do, and I always liked all of them.
Hey,
I
the
like
gym
that.
is a gym
What's
is a
that?
crisis. No,
Yeah.
it's like, is this about the gym or a crisis? The gym is a crisis.
Yeah. People still aren't going to ours too. Even though the province has lifted his mandate, and that's why we're having to fight the condo board now, where they're like, "Well, we can't keep you safe. We have no way of like, fuck you." This is my home, assholes.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think that's
agree.
going to be the next crisis.
The next crisis is condo boards getting fucking ass raped.
No, but people just getting in the mindset of, no, you know what? Fuck you. We're not
Yeah.
going to follow anything. We're not going to follow mandates. We're not going to get vaccinated. We're not going to listen to you anymore. Just fuck off.
Yeah. I like it too. And I think this is the difference between, I don't know what Europe's like, but the Canadian versus the American version. The American version is you got to puff your chest, start talking about the fucking revolution. And in Canada, people were just like over it. Eh. Like right now, and this is like the smallest thing ever, but if you're in an elevator, we have like 4 people per elevator because of spacing requirements. There'll be 3 of us in an elevator and like 4 people waiting, and we're like, yeah, just come on in. Do you guys care? They're like, no, we don't care. Nobody cares. But it's just like quiet, subtle, we're just going back to real life. And it adds that extra, like something in the city. You notice how nobody's really polite with strangers in the city? Everybody kind of minds their own business.
Yeah.
It's giving people a reason to be polite and start up a conversation in elevators. Like, I never had a problem with it, but other people now, they're like, hey, come on in. Oh, this COVID, huh? Something else. They're like, yeah, I'm over it. That's fine. Don't worry. I'm sure everybody's been vaccinated. Have a good laugh. Oh, yeah. I got 5
was the
masks on. We got
funniest-
it.
That was the funniest thing when I was traveling now. Because, like, in order to get into the country I was in, you had to fill out, like, this big fucking form with, this is my name, I'm staying here, I'm going to stay here, and then I'm going to travel from there, and I've had these vaccines, gone through COVID like this, blah, blah, blah. And you had to have this on your person at all times because they were mandated to check it when entering any kind of public space.
How adamant were they in checking it?
That's kind of the funny thing. The level of, like, only like 4 places asked, do you have this piece of paper with you? And when you said yes, they were like, okay, fine, go in. Do you need to see it? Nope, just fuck on in.
That's
And
what I was
then there
noticing
like,
too.
There was like one place, which is like a major chain, where we were going to get some food before we're going back after we've been out drinking. And they were like, yeah, we're going to have to see your piece of paper. And I think that was just because the McDonald's were empty and the guy opening at the door had nothing else to do. So he was like, okay, fuck it, I'll check it. It'll kill 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm seeing that like with restaurants, airplanes, and that. They don't need to see it. They just want to know you have it because I don't think they care. Nobody cares if you get COVID. Nobody's really concerned about your health. I think they just want to cover their ass. And for a lot of these companies, like, well, we asked if everybody has it. And the odds of somebody actually catching it are so fucking low anyway. Nobody's going to have to worry about, oh, what turns out they took a flight with you and then they got like, whatever.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of like over the blustered rhetoric from both sides. It's like, no, COVID isn't going to kill us all, and no, being asked for a vaccine if you've had a vaccine is not like a fucking yellow star. Anyone
Yeah, it's
who
funny.
ever-
Everybody has to go to that 1945 reference.
Yeah, but like
As soon as they
everyone
make a
who's
point.
been to like Asia or Africa or South America have had to bring that little piece of paper with them showing that you've gotten all your vaccines. And if you're going to like a fascist state like Canada, you even have to document that you have medical insurance and shit and enough money to actually get your ass back home.
Really? Wow, look at us. I didn't realize we were such assholes like that. I guess that's why we're polite now because like we gotta make up for all the asshole shit we pulled getting in here.
Well, a lot of countries that have like public healthcare systems have that kind of rule. That when you travel into it, you have to be able to document that you have your own medical insurance and that you have a certain amount of money.
Oh, well, that's neat to know. Yeah, I've never had to worry about any of that stuff. Just trying to think now. Have I? Maybe. I don't know. My girl handled a lot of the paperwork stuff, so sometimes I'm not paying attention. And with the military, I don't think they're allowed to tech with you anyway, so whatever.
No, with
fair
the
enough.
military, it's different. But like, if you're in the military, no one's going to give you any shit because they know you're covered. Speaking of which, I did have a funny story this week about like a friend of mine is still active duty military.
Oh, okay.
And he started traveling wearing his uniform at all times.
Really? Like they are
Yeah,
cool
because-
with that now?
He kind of had to
Oh, okay.
because he has what we tend to call permanently stoned as fuck face.
Oh.
So like the guy looks like he's stoned 24/7. And he was just being harassed so much by police when he was traveling in customs and everyone. He just had started traveling like in his uniform with like his full like captain's badges on it.
Dude, that's fucking funny. Because, yeah, if it's anything like Canada, they told you flat out, like, don't wear your uniform out and about. Like, a lot of people are anti-military. It's going to make you look bad. If you get into trouble, you make us all look bad. Just be in your civvy clothes. And we're all happy because, like, yeah, fuck this job. But that's just funny where he's like, he found the one situation. It's like, look, I'm tired of getting bothered by the cops. Let me put on the badge. Or what's that? Nobody ever paid attention to me till I put on the mask. Oh, well, good on him.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is just, I think the rhetoric is just getting to a point where like the top 1% crazy people from both sides are getting all the media attention. And those are the people who feel like there's a crisis at all times, no matter what. Like, I have a dude, I've been following him for like 5-6 years. He's like the Doctor Doom of crises. For those who are not familiar with Doctor Doom, he's an economist, and the reason he got that nickname is that he's kind of pegged the last two big drops in the stock market. What they don't mention is he's been predicting that the stock market would have a huge drop for like the last 30 fucking years.
Oh, stop clock syndrome.
Yeah, like no matter what happens, he's expecting the market to fucking crash and the economy to burn. And it's kind of been the same thing here. Like, I don't think, like, let's say the vaccine had like a 1% chance to kill you. That's 1 in 100.
Yeah.
At that point, I think the rhetoric around the vaccine passports and so on going on one side would be justified. Like, we're going to kill 1 of every 100 just to save the rest. At that point, I think it's justified. And
I mean, even if you don't think it is, at least it's an argument you would have to take seriously.
But same thing with the other side. Because, like, it's not like a few people who are not taking a vaccine is going to spell the end to doom of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this is the crisis that kind of breaks your state, how would you have handled a fucking war?
Well, I think that's the part that a reasonable person gets bothered by. It's not that there is a vaccine. It's not, like, first off, mandating it. There's ways to get this thing through the population without just, like, forcing it on people. There's the law part on that. But that's just I like seeing retards on YouTube because that means as long as they're there, I'm not going to get banned. It's like that mentality, but for, like, you know, authoritarianism. But I think that's a reasonable point. Nobody makes it. But you know what it is? I learned this from fucking Reddit. It's that those both sides crazy, they aren't actually cheerleading for their side. They're just acting like the heels for the other side. So, like, you go to there's like coronavirus subreddits that are like pro coronavirus. There's ones that are like documenting anti stuff. And every pro vaccine subreddit is pointing at like idiots talking about the fucking lizard people. This is our villain. Fucking yeah, this outgroup, they're assholes. We're good. And you can always find an example of some fucking Facebook Karen. And then sure enough, the people that are like, you know, medical authoritarianism is bad, they're going to find all these guys just saying, you know, get the jab, take it and like it, dude. Take 7. I don't care. And so, like, nobody has the self-awareness to realize that we're all just a bunch of lol cows. A bunch of clowns there to make the other side feel good that we're villainous. Yeah, everybody wants to be Ric Flair. Ain't nobody want to be no Hulk-Am Hogan.
I think that's kind of like the end stage of democracy, when democracy actually becomes wrestling.
Dude, I think that's why a lot of the red pill guys have been so switched on with all this shit. It's because we grew up on WWF and we're like, hey, I know this gimmick. I know this heel turn. This is awesome.
It's like Kayfabe Trump minions. And Kim Jong-un was basically Hulk Hogan and Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, absolutely. Played out just the same too, and it went really well. What are those press conferences if not promos? Promos for SummerSlam. Promo for election season. This is awesome. Oh, but Trudeau's going to the G8 summit. Oh, it's the SummerSlam.
But I do think it's just going to be people are just gonna. Because I think we're gonna be so overloaded on cortisol, stress hormones, or we're gonna be so drugged up that we don't bother paying attention. It's gonna be either or. So I think the population is gonna break down to people who are medicated and don't give a shit, and people on the other side who are hysterical because everyone else is medicated.
That's funny. The emotional and the ambivalent. The true heels and heroes. I mean, I guess that's the good thing about it with all this. But like, you've never seen a bigger separation from those who are gonna make it and those who are not gonna make it. I think that's awesome. I take that as a positive in the sense that, like, how could you not make a fortune? You have a head on your shoulders. You're not fucking retarded, and you're not loaded on Xanax. Like, that's how much more advantage do you need? There's your 6 foot, 6-figure salary, 6-pack abs, 6-cylinder car fucking flex right there. I'm not on Xanax. I'm not paranoid. And my anxiety and cortisol levels are reasonable. I think I got this. Ooh. You seen this one? Sam saying traveling through the airport today is like watching a praying mantis during the tangle with a grass snake. I gotta ask. Like, my girl flew to see her parents. She's gonna tile our kitchen for Christmas. So she went home to her parents who were tiling their kitchen. And she's like, I'm gonna get some experience and steal a tile cutter. I'm like, all right, fair enough. There's that, what's the Manosphere thing? Like, hey, I just want to go to a girls' night out with Vegas with my friends. Would you be cool with that? That's what I get. Hey, I'm going to go tile with my dad. Have fun. I read the article. I know what to say. Speaking of which, she's doing really well.
If you could have a wrestler be like the president of the United States, who would you go for? Like any wrestler, doesn't matter, dead or alive.
The easy answer is Jesse Ventura. But I think the real answer, and I'm not sure if I want to commit to this one full time, but I watched the pipe bomb thing you told me about, the CM Punk.
Yeah.
I kind of want him. I kind of like that fourth wall breaking, cynical and jaded, but experienced and like I want that in there. If I could pick that as a world leader, I think he would be great. I would love a zero filter president who's switched on, because, I mean, let's face it, Trump was kind of a boomer. He didn't really know a lot of stuff. He knew Twitter. That was about it.
I think that would be cool, but I'm kind of leaning between,
Jerry Lawler.
Well, CM Punk would be fun because it would be hilarious to watch like a fourth wall breaking, like shoot from the hip on a switched on president. But on the other hand, I kind of want to see Jake the Snake Roberts on crack in the 80s as president.
Holy jeez. Where the hell did you pull that shit out?
Or Ultimate Warrior when he's doing like his WCW promos and he's high as a fucking kite. And he's wearing that huge Technicolor coat.
Mr. Wayne, some people just want to watch the world burn. I can't do a Cockney accent. Jesus.
But I still think Jake the Snake on crack in the 80s would be the best. One would show up to the fucking G8 summit with a bag with a snake in it.
I think Casual might have you beat here. He wants Mick Foley. I mean, what's funnier than watching a guy stick a dirty cum sock in your mouth? Okay, my real answer, though, if I had to give a real answer, second to CM Punk, I would say Bret Hart. Only because it would be competent, pink, and like fun. Like, it's just, I don't know, that was the part I always loved about Bret Hart, and I wish I enjoyed him more when he was still wrestling, was that he was just the consummate professional,
Yeah, it was one of the things that struck me when I watched an interview with him after his career was over was that, like, the thing he took the most pride in, it wasn't all his titles or all his great feuds or all his classical matches. It was the fact that he never hurt anyone in the ring.
Yeah, I think people forget that that's kind of a big deal. Because who was the really bad for that? Was it Goldust?
Goldberg was really bad for it.
That's the one.
But I think the funniest thing there with Bret Hart is, like, he was just such a through and through professional, never hurt anyone in the ring. And he gets sent out by, like, an errant kick from Goldberg, who was, like, the greenest guy. And the fact, like, if you had to guess, like, one match where Bret Hart would have gotten injured because of a clumsy opponent, it would be the match that he wrestled with the British Bulldog when the Bulldog was so fucking drugged out that he didn't even remember wrestling the fucking match.
Yeah. Apparently he can do better off of coke than Goldberg can just doing whatever.
It's like, no, but like the story behind it, apparently British Bulldog was hit a cold or something. And he decided to solve the problem by staying up all night smoking crack before the match.
It's an idea. I can't argue that.
And like I've had my like NyQuil hangovers, but like you know when you're sick and you have like NyQuil night and you have a little bit too much and you may have had a drink and a couple of pills with it as well.
Oh yeah, the
And you like
post-surgery wake-up high, yeah.
yeah, and you wake up and it's like 10 minutes before you're supposed to be at work and you're still fucking high off the medicine, so you just gotta hop in the shower and move on. But just imagine that with crack, and you're not going into the office where you can grab a coffee, mutter that you're hungover, and go hide in a cubicle or an office. You have to
gotta
go out and
perform.
wrestle in your underwear in front of like 5,000 people.
I think they were like, oh, would have been, it might have been 20,000 at the time. I think that was like really
could have
big
been.
numbers. I can never remember. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing is kind of funny. I do enjoy it though. I'm really glad. I think getting exposed to that vaudevillian theater thing, I feel bad now because kids aren't getting that now. And so they don't understand the idea of kayfabe, like theater being presented as real. Because, dude, media savviness is such an essential skill nowadays. I am surprised more people don't have it. Like it's you have to have it. I would put it right up there with being able to work out. Like just to understand when somebody's manipulating and lying to you to get something from you, but making it entertaining. You know?
Yeah, and I also think that like politics is 10 years behind wrestling.
Ain't that the truth?
So like right now they're doing like the 2000 to 2010ish. They're at that level.
Ooh. That's Attitude Era, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right after. It's ruthless aggression.
Okay.
And then PG era after. So I'm kind of like, are we going to get like a rewind to that like Nancy Reagan don't do drugs thing?
Dude, that would actually be, that would be like low key, nostalgic, wholesome. But
Yeah,
it'd
it
be
would
from
be kinda
somebody that you got,
hilarious.
yeah.
But on the other hand, I'd say the biggest issue with that is just the younger generation is fucking nuts.
Can't blame them. Like, what are they, look what they've been given.
It's like, well, here's an example. Like, when I was in my early 20s, the way people did coke was to do quite a lot of it. So they'd get high off the coke.
All right, that makes
That's
sense.
that's not what they're doing now from what I'm hearing.
What?
They're drinking like mad and they're microdosing coke so they can stay up and drink for longer.
So they turned Coke into Adderall.
Yeah, basically.
Fuck, fair enough. I don't even know where to go with that one. Yeah, my town got ravaged by Coke after NAFTA, and it was just something you did to have fun and party with. It would keep you up, and you know, make sex would be better. That's weird. That's like those people that do heroin because they think it makes them more creative as painters. What do they call them? Oh yeah, impressionists. You guys would be surprised how many of those, like, oh, these are the most wonderful traditional painting, all the trad Lindy paintings. Yeah, those guys were probably on the Black Dragon when they painted it. Don't worry about it.
Well, I
If
think
they
that's
weren't
funny
sleeping
though.
with
Like,
minors like Gauguin.
well, I think that's kind of like the trad nostalgia we touched on though, because like people don't have fond memories of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but they love the '60s. They remember Woodstock.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one remembers the milkman fucking everyone's wife in the '50s. But they do remember that Norman Rockwell painting.
Yeah, it's true. In the 40s, nobody remembers the girls getting like quaaludes and getting drunk all day and wife beating and all that shit. Everybody just remembers that we beat the Nazis.
Yeah, they don't remember like half the housewives in the country were on amphetamines to lose weight. It's like, why were they so thin in the 50s? Well, everyone was on fucking amphetamines, man.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that too, where everybody was talking. I remember for the longest time, I was like, wow, Germany is such an amazing army. They're just like stronger and tougher and better, and their engineering is great. It just turns out they were all on speed. I'm like, oh, That's what you guys did. You just threw crackheads at the problem. No wonder why. I can't stop him. I stabbed him 5 times. He's still coming. Makes so much more sense now. Yeah, nope, heroin.
But it's like, I remember I read up on that just for fun. Because,
Oh, it's you. Of
Drugs
course, you
are-
love the Austrian painter scene for fun.
well, not that part, but I was reading up like on the history of various use of drugs. And like heroin was discovered, and cocaine and so on, they were discovered in like the 1880s. And they were quite frequently used. I remember reading at one point, like, okay, the drug use in insert country at the time were alcoholics. They're mostly working class. And then you have upper class alcoholics, but you don't call them alcoholics. You call them something else, wine enthusiasts or something. Then you have like your go through morphine addicts, which were mostly doctors who were just addicted to morphine. And then you had your psychologists like Freud who were addicted to cocaine. And then you had, the famed thing called grog o'clock in the US, which I find funny, which was a time before Prohibition where all the workers would stop to work and they'd go drink.
Nice.
So it was like a second lunch. It's like,
I haven't heard
okay,
anybody
guys,
call it grog in forever.
it's 2 hours until lunch. Better have a couple of stiff shots so we can keep working. But I
The only
remember
way that
that
would be
from my,
funnier is if
my
they had jugs with 3 X's on the front. That's what they're
well, I
drinking
remember
out
that with my great-grandfather because he was kind of a highfalutin guy at the time. And that dude would start drinking at like 10 o'clock in the morning every day. Non-filtered cigarettes and spirits mixed with seltzer water. That was his go-to every fucking day at 10 o'clock. Non-filtered cigarette, seltzer water with about 50% hard liquor.
Damn. Tougher person. Before the smoking ban. Which is funny
Well, it was
now.
also-
Like I said, I had 2 beers, and then I was like, I gotta go to bed. We're so weak now. I got a microdose of Budweiser.
I do think microdosing is one of those funny things, though. Because,
It's just, what are you thinking?
well, like I have a guy I know who microdoses acid.
Okay.
Apparently, it's supposed to help with his moods and his depression.
I thought it was supposed to be for PTSD, but sure. I guess if
But
it
like,
helps.
I've always had like this rule of thumb for myself that like I don't get high or drink or whatever when I'm actively working.
Which makes sense. What do they call
Like,
that?
it-
Functional alcoholism.
Like no, but like if I'm out with clients for a lunch and the clients want wine with lunch, of course I have a glass of wine with the client, unless I have the convenient excuse, no, sorry, I'm driving.
Right.
But I'm just seeing that more and more people seem to be on things during the workday.
I'm noticing that. I never thought it would be that bad. Didn't I tell you that story when I was in the military and I figured out how everybody was on fucking prescription meds?
No, what was that about?
Yeah, well, I was like, come on, man, set it up. So I had posted to a remote unit. There was 27 remote units across the country for my trade. 27 of us got sent down there. And because there was nobody from our trade, no communicators were around, we'd always call each other, swap some notes. Hey, how'd you solve this? How'd you solve that? Guys swapping notes, very red-pilled. And then at one point, this was right about the time that I got zeroed out there, and I noticed the doctor just started throwing SSRIs at me. Here's some anxiety meds here. Here's the take this one all the time because it's slow release, and if you have an attack, here's this one. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is all weird. And so I started talking to everybody, and I'm like, yeah, have you guys seen this? She's like, oh yeah, I've been on that for like years. And then out of all the 27 other units I would talk to, they were all on it. And I'm like, dude, we were never on this shit when we were like pirate hunting in Somalia. We were never on this shit when our sailing schedules were like 200 days out of the year. Because now everybody's in an office job and they got you all hooked up on Zopiclone to get to sleep and Ativan to get through the working day. And they're like, yeah, it's apparently really common. It turns out like 40% of the forces are all on like SSRIs and uppers and downers. And I was like, holy fuck. Everybody's on shit just to get through the workday. It was, yeah, you were,
Yeah,
so
but
continue yours, because I, like, yeah, what the fuck?
no, because I started pulling it in relation to something I was working on, and I
Mm-hmm.
started pulling all this data. And I started kind of doing the math in my head, like, okay, so how many people are on something right fucking now? And I think I concluded that about 40 to 60% of the population are medicated on either opiates or benzodiazepines or both.
Jesus. Going hard or going home? Let's do both.
And then you add the drinking on top of that and the over the counter stuff because that's one of the funny things. You know how much prescription meds people are using. You can estimate the drug market, the illegal one, fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
But like you have no track of like what the consumption is like of like standard over the counter shit.
Well, yeah, well, even, I don't know if it's over the counter or not, but T3s, they have a little bit of opium in them. And I remember when I was in college, a lot of guys used to get T3s for pain, crush them up, and then drink. It's like, because they wanted to save money. It's like, dude, if I have a drink with a T3, I get drunk so much faster. So then we eventually had to like, dude, don't do that. You're going to die. But like, that was like the cool thing that all the cool kids were doing back then. And now I'm seeing adults in like their 30s and 40s apparently doing it, which is fucked up.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an interesting take on the whole crisis situation too, because we've
Mm-hmm.
been talking about like constant crisis in here, and I think the medication rate is reflective of that. Because when the media and politicians have been using fear constantly, like half the population is in constant crisis mode.
Mm-hmm.
You occasionally need to get out of that crisis mode, and drugs do that very well, along with alcohol.
Jesus. And I think Chesty put it here before, like whiskey dick, but at least I don't have anxiety. What he's saying there is SSRIs basically mute the feelings in your dick. If you guys don't know this, you'd be surprised how many guys are in marriages where like my wife won't fuck me. And everybody's like, oh, you're just not alpha enough, bro. You're not alpha enough, bro. And in some cases that's true, but in a lot of cases, their wife's on SSRIs, and that's why her libido is dropped off a fucking cliff. Get her off the anxiety meds. Try this out. Go to the gym. Take it from there. Jesus.
That's the same thing with, when guys go on SSRIs, a lot of them get erection problems.
Yeah. Erection problems, numbness problems. They even warn you about that when you go in there. Just so you know. But don't worry, it's mild. And they always downplay it. It's like, don't worry, it's not the worst thing in the world. You're like, I don't know about you, but my dick working is kind of like a big deal for me. I really enjoy
Yeah,
it.
like I've joked around that I trust my dealer more than my doctor.
Well, yeah, he
just
loses
on the
a
basis
customer if
that
you get fucked up.
Well, just on the basis that, he'll tell you, like, okay, you can take 2 of these, but don't take those with those because that will fucking kill you.
Ooh. That's a drug dealer with a heart of gold.
Well, they lose customers, and they can be charged for manslaughter if they sell illegal shit.
Doctors don't, though. I get what you're saying.
No. The doctors aren't held accountable nearly to the same level when it comes to what they're putting in people. And Big Pharma is also big invested in having people on medication constantly as opposed to taking pills for a week and then done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much do you think you make off, like, keeping someone on Zoloft for 30 years versus giving them 14 days worth of penicillin to kill the gonorrhea?
I wouldn't even know how to calculate that. Ooh, drug dealers swapping notes. God damn it, Dante. No, I kind of buy that too, actually, because like one of the guys I really loved reading, who was kind of sphere adjacent, Last Psychiatrist, he talked about that. The certification as fetish, where a lot of people just want credentials, like credentialism. I have letters after my name. I am qualified in this. I'm a doctor, and but the fact that they have these certifications, these official things, means if something goes wrong, well, it's the system's fault. I was following policy. And it was a neat case he made. Is like, what? And this is where your drug dealer being more trustworthy than your doctor makes sense. What would you do if credentials went away tomorrow? He's like, well, people would become responsible for their own educations. Like if they're giving you advice based on knowledge that they gain that makes them an expert in their field, they're basically accountable to have the best information they can give. And certification gets in the way of that, which makes sense now because your drug dealer has to be very smart about biology and chemistry. But if he fucks it up, he's fucked. The doctor, just has to say they're qualified in it. They have to have a piece of paper that attributes them to being qualified in it, but they don't. Doesn't matter at all.
No, and I think it's also a bit with the role of pharmacists because they're a very underappreciated group. That they're essentially become pill counters for doctors when the pharmacists are much more qualified to tailor medications than doctors are.
Oh, I didn't like. I knew pharmacists were good at this kind of stuff. I didn't realize how big the disparity there was.
Well, it changes from country to country. Because the role of doctor, pharmacist, nurse, etc. within healthcare systems can be slightly different.
Right.
So in some places, pharmacists have a bigger role, some places a smaller role. Like in the US, you have some programs where you take like a regular nurse and they can become certified to actually write prescriptions and that type of thing.
Oh, that's nice. Good for them.
So it kind of changes from country to country, but that's why I love Eastern Europe because pharmacists there are killer. It's like you go into like a Polish pharmacy and you're like, I have this bad cough, and this old lady will give you like a small glass bottle and be like, take like a small drop of this in like 18 liters of fucking water, and you'll be knocked out for 2 days, but you sure as shit won't be coughing.
Actually, that makes sense. One of my favorite guys from the Married Red Pill, an ex-addict, bro. He was a pharmacist supposedly in Eastern Europe, and he got hooked on pills. And that would make sense that he's able to offer himself all that. But I mean, that's the thing. He's responsible for his own health. He's responsible for his own medication. Can't blame it on some certifications. Well, I followed the policy. I don't think you get that excuse in Russia.
I think the same issue I've had with people who do TRT themselves without doctor's help. Now, in some cases, people are smart enough to do it and are competent enough in, handling syringes and needles and dosages and
the blood work,
making sure the product isn't completely fucked up, etc. But in a lot of cases, you get gym bros who have no idea about any of that. All they know is that they're supposed to needle themselves in the ass twice a day.
So it's basically like microdosing a stack of steroids, is what you're saying. Essentially.
No, what I'm saying is there are safe ways to do almost anything. Like you have a doctor in the U.S. who's a recreational heroin user.
And he's the one who's making the rounds now. I've seen him. That black guy, right?
Yeah. The point I'm getting at is I don't think there is a lot of safety with how we medicate people. And I think for a lot of people, they medicate away deeper issues would end up... like, let's say the wife is on SSRIs. The guy is on blood pressure meds, blood thinners... 4 or 5 other pills. They're killing his physical shape and his libido. How well do you think that marriage is going to work out?
Oh, it's fucked. But that's the thing. Environmentally, it's fucked. There's no gumption. You can't out-alpha that. You can't out-alpha hormones.
And I think that's kind of the issue, that people are becoming medicated much younger. Because, like, one of the things my grandparents bragged about were things like, yeah, I'm 70 and I don't take any pills every day. That was a kind of a point of pride to them.
Yeah.
And then you meet 28-year-olds that are like, yeah, like I take 4 pills a day and then I need to go and get my hormone treatments and then I go and see my faith healer and then I tan my asshole. And it's like, dude, maybe stop doing all of that.
Yeah. Go back to smoking cigarettes without a filter and drinking scotch. Yeah, I don't know. And I think it's one place I wish the red pill would go into more. Like, I'm trying my best to get into the mental health side of it, the psychological and psychiatric side of it, because the APA is shit. Most shrinks are shit. But like a pharmacological one, because so far the best we got is get your wife and you off of SSRIs and stop medicating yourselves when you could fix environmental problems that are causing these problems. But we don't get any further than that.
Well, and I think that was what I liked about the TRT space before that went completely off the rocker, because that had potential.
Oh, for sure.
Because, like, Jay, whatever his name is, when he did, like, the TRT Bible and all that and went through all the hormones and all that, that's great work, and I wish we had more of that. But we should have that for SSRIs. We should have it for all the various drugs that people are being pumped into. Like, how are they affecting your relationship? Like,
Yeah.
if you're taking a sleeping pill and your wife is taking a sleeping pill, how is that going to affect your ability to casually have sex if you feel like it? You're obviously not going to do that if you're both on Seroquel and you're dead to the world.
Same, yeah. SSRIs and the sex drive, or birth control versus an IUD. There's all this wonderful gold, but that's the problem, is that you can't. I don't think you can market from like the outer boundary of knowledge. I've kind of noticed this too. This is back to the Illimitable Man thing at the start. You notice that, like, right now, hypergamy, you can market hypergamy because it's kind of like we got it and everything's well past it now. But if I want to start talking about the role of SSRIs in a marriage, marketers can't market that because people are like, what the fuck's an SSRI? What the fuck is this? You need all these people to build a body of knowledge, and then you have to turn it to some basic bitch marketing shit.
Yeah, I like
however.
Ambien. I'm a big fan of Ambien, Chesty, because then I get to be racist on Twitter. It's a known side effect.
I was going to say, get some Ambien into you, and then you can take your girlfriend out on a Tinder date with some other dude.
I think in even simple things like if you're over 40 and you're in like you can feel your relationship slipping, try and go and have your testosterone and your hormones checked. Just have a hormone panel.
Oh, dude, that'll red pill you to the medical industry right there. I love telling that story. I went in, I just told my doctor, I just want to get some meds done. I'm not getting any younger. I'll be 40 soon. I just want to see, so if something drops off a cliff, I know. 20-minute speech about how I'm going to get steroids and murder my family and go sterile from her. I'm like, can I get the blood test? Meanwhile, my girl's like, yeah, test me for everything. They're like, yep, here you go. We'll see you in 15 minutes. I'm like, you fucking cocksuckers.
But that kind of pisses me off though, because women are a lot better at marketing women health than men are.
Oh, for sure.
And women are self-centered about that shit too. Because like if you see how much is spent like on prostate cancer versus breast cancer, it's insane, right?
Oh, for sure. It's like, it was like 5-1 or something insane like that,
Yeah,
wasn't
something
it?
silly. And then women are out there like, you're not spending enough money on female health. And every single report I've seen from any like modern Western country demonstrates that women are net negative taxpayers for most of their life, partly because of childbirth, and we kind of have to give them a pass on that one. But also because of taking sick leave, using the medical system significantly more. And I think that's also part of the reason why women live 5 to 7 years longer than men. Because when they have cancer, they catch that early on because they're at the doctor's office for the 19th time that month. Versus the guy who's working as a roughneck out on the side or something who's been feeling some stinging pain in his lower back. And
He only
suddenly
goes and there's a
comes back
football-sized lump on his back, yeah.
yeah, and it's like a aggressive cancer in a kidney or some shit.
That's the weird thing too. Like for guys, it's like you said, a point of pride. I never go see a doctor. Well, maybe you should, man. That shit's growing pretty fast. I don't know about that. They're just gonna tell me to. And I guess, yeah, for a lot of times the doctor doesn't know what it is. They don't know how to help you, and so he just gets frustrated.
And the
Dude,
worst part is
I've
like,
had just from my stuff, like my lower back issue from the lifting weights in the gym. They're just trying to get that treated. It took me like 5 years and 10 different doctors just to narrow down that it was like an irritated disc. I'm like, that's basic bitch shit. How am I having to spend this much effort and time, get this many professionals together just to diagnose something that some guy who like was a coach for a lacrosse team could have told me in 15 minutes? That's how it ended up happening, by the way. A physiotherapist that helped the lacrosse team, he's like, oh yeah, I know this. We'll fix this.
yeah, but like I went to a similar doctor and it was just like all the kind of typical injuries. It was like he knew them. So it was just so easy. And like when he started, like, I don't know this, okay, I'm going to go see another doctor. But I had the health thing with my girl all the time too, because like I was clumsy with a knife and I cut myself like straight across the palm of my hand.
Ooh.
And instead of like doing the responsible adult thing, going to get the medical kit, opening that up, disinfecting it, cleaning it out, putting on tape and shit, I just took a tube of super glue and I super glued that shit shut. And my girl was like, why are you doing that? You need to disinfect it and put a bandage. I'm like, well, the super glue burns. That has to be disinfecting is something, right?
It probably does too. But I agree. Yeah, sometimes you don't need a perfect solution, a good enough solution. I only laugh because I've done that before until somebody explained to me what the concept of liquid Band-Aids was. I was like, wait, that exists? Holy shit. What have I been doing my whole life wasting all this super glue?
Well, to be fair though, like liquid band-aids I think are fairly new.
Are they? Oh, okay, fair enough. Maybe then is then. Maybe it is somebody just finally figured out the system.
Well, or it's just on the basis that that's how things have always been. That's how I learned to do it. Just use super glue.
Yeah. Super glue, grab on really tight onto like a bundle of Kleenex you shoved into your hand there, and then when it forms like a crust, just rip it off. Here's your bro science. This is how you handle infections.
Yeah, but it kind of reminds me of this guy I know who is an ex-military medic. And the guy will fix you.
Mm-hmm.
But it will hurt more after he fixes you. Because they learn like two things, IV liquid and ibuprofen. And
he's a military
else,
doctor.
And like everything else is like almost, I feel like I'm doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu because it's just twisting shit.
Dude, that's hilarious. As soon as you mention ibuprofen, I'm like, yeah, this story's legit. That's like the big joke in Canada is they'll give you Sudafed, ibuprofen, and an IV. That's how they fix everything. The big 400-pound or 400 milligram tablets too, or no, the 800 milligram tablets, the big orange ones. I used to call them smart Navy Smarties. All right. Although I guess
how
here
many
we're
of these do I? How many of these do I take? Like, just take a handful, throw them at your face, and whatever lands in your mouth, that's the dosage.
Actually, to be fair, I'm pretty good with this. You are safely able to take 2,400 milligrams of ibuprofen a day for a period of no more than 3 months. Otherwise, you can cause liver damage, and you need to go off of it for a period of time to allow your liver time to heal. I know this because that was the military solution to my lower back problems for probably the first 3 years. Throw more ibuprofen at it. And I used to eat 2,400 milligrams a day. And that was the only studies they'd reference, is that that's how much you can take without fucking up your liver. Like, thank you,
like,
sir.
I remember the same thing because, like, I have a buddy who gets cluster headaches.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at a cabin once, and we were sitting out drinking, and my buddy brings up his cluster headaches. And this doctor just takes a sip out of his beer, and he just goes, well, you do realize you can take, like, 1,500 milligrams of paracetamol and stack that with, like, 2,000 milligrams of ibuprofen, like, 3 times a day, right?
Fuck me. I guess if it works, it works. I think we should. Let's end the show on this one. I guess we got Troy's going to be on in like 25 minutes. I don't think I'm going to go on this one, man. I really don't want to talk about jerking off.
You can demonstrate it. Just stand up and just jerk off live on the cast.
I got nothing. I'm out of gas. I can't follow in with that joke. You're on your own. That's like the terrified fear of every content creator with a webcam. It's like, oh my God, at some point there's going to be a video of me jerking off accidentally. And like, no, it's not going to happen. You'll be fine. All right. Anyways, yeah, as the show, Gendernomics 1 and 2, really good. Read them. So's Fuck Files. Troy's got Rule 0. I might just stream Tekken on Twitch instead because I don't want to talk about Black Pill shit. All right. You got anything else or should I just let it go?
No, I'm just like, we're getting to the point where like, you're like, I'd rather stream Tekken than do Manosphere content. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, fair enough. Why I left the